You know me as the host of the Too Busy to Eat show, but I'm also founder and CEO of Too Busy to Eat, the protein bar company. I make what I feel is the healthiest and best tasting protein bar on the market. So now it developed from my own frustration of not being able to find a bar that tasted good and that was extremely healthy, that I could have maybe multiple times a day if I was really busy, or I could feed my kids and not feel guilty about what they ate. So I created this bar with grass-fed whey protein, no more than 3 grams of sugar, which is all naturally occurring, and it's gluten-free, non-GMO, the list goes on. So don't take my word for it. I want you to try them. And I want to give you incentive to try them. So I'm going to give you 20% off your first order. You can get a sample bag of bars, or you can get a whole box, whatever you want. Go to my website, toobusytoeat.com. Not hard to remember. Show, the company. And enter the promo code TBTE Show. TBTE Show. Actually, it's a discount box when you check out. And you'll get 20% off your first order, no matter how small or large. So go to the website now, try them out, and then let me know what you think. Welcome to the Too Busy to Eat show. I can't wait to share this episode with you. We have Jimmy Moore on the show from Living La Vida Low Carb. So Jimmy has written 6 books. You got Living La Vida Low Carb was his first book. 21 Life Lessons from Living La Vida Low Carb was his second book. Then he wrote a book called Cholesterol Clarity. Then he went into Keto Clarity, the Ketogenic Cookbook, and his latest book, The Complete Guide to Fasting. He is a fasting individual. On top of all this, he has 3 different podcasts. He has a wealth of knowledge. He's a great guy. I can't wait for you to listen to him. So let's get to the show right now. Well, welcome, Jimmy. I'm so excited that you're on the show. I'm glad you took the time. You got a lot going on. So to have you on our show is really special. So thanks.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me.
It's great. It's great. And, so your journey is, reading about your journey, studying what you've done, reading about what you've done, all the things you pulled off of the books and the podcasts. Just take us back a little bit and give us a little bit about your journey, what got you to where you are now.
Yeah, it's so funny. I sometimes joke with people, if you'd have told me in high school when I was an overweight, shy, teenaged boy, that someday you would have one of the biggest podcasts. Number one, what's a podcast? But biggest places on the internet. The internet didn't exist. And writing books for a living and talking about health for a living. It just proves God has a sense of humor in all of this stuff. Because I was always the fat kid. I was the guy that was picked last on teams, and I just was never into health and fitness. My mom was obese. My brother Kevin was obese. My sister Beverly obese. My little brother Nathan obese. All of us were big kids, and we didn't know how to eat right. Obviously, that's how we got to be so fat. And of course, some people would say, well, your whole family has it. It's genetics. And so a lot of people use that as an excuse. Well, it's genetics, so the heck with doing anything. Right. And so all through my 20s, I got bigger and bigger and bigger until I reached the age of 32, and I was 410 pounds. Now, 4 years prior to that, I saw my brother Kevin, who was also very big, as I mentioned. He had a series of heart attacks in 1 week that nearly killed him. He actually had 3 heart attacks in the span of 1 week, made his heart function go down to about 15%. He did eventually die at the age of 41 back in 2008. So that's way too soon to be dying. 1999 was when that happened with the heart attacks. And so it woke me up that I needed to do something. But what did I need to do? Well, I defaulted on what I saw my mama do again and again and again and again throughout her life. As a child of the 80s, I watched her do low-fat diet after low-fat diet after low-fat diet. So what did I do when I wanted to lose weight and get healthy? I cut out all the fat in my diet in 1999, was very, very successful at losing weight. But here's the key. I was miserable.
Oh, gosh, I'm sure.
Hungry all the time, cravings, just didn't like eating because I constantly wanted to eat. And it's like, okay, I just ate. Why am I still hungry? So I lost a lot of weight. And I remember my wife, Christine, said, "Hey, will you go get some McDonald's?" And I said, "Okay, can I have some just this one time?" Of course, you know what happened after that. I binged. And for 4 months, I ate everything in sight and gained back all of that weight and then some. And it was at that point that I said, you know what? If to be healthy, I have to eat that way and feel that way, I would rather be fat and eat whatever I want and be happy. And that was a real dangerous place for me to be in.
Yeah.
But thankfully, fast forward 5 years later to 2004, I got a diet book for Christmas. Now, my mother-in-law gave me that diet book.
Oh, no.
And she had given me like diet books for Christmas every year. One year she gave me Dr. Phil's book, "Today Can Be a Changing Day in Your Life." And I said, "No, Dr. Phil, that's a low-fat diet. No, thank you." So, but I knew something had to give, but I didn't want to feel like that again. So I read this book that my mother-in-law gave me called Dr. Atkins' New Diet Revolution.
Awesome book, yeah.
And it totally revolutionized my thinking. At first, I thought this guy was wackadoodle, though. Dr. Atkins, cut your carbs. Where are you supposed to get your energy from?
Right.
Eat more fat. He's a cardiologist and telling people to eat the very thing that we know clogs your arteries and gives you heart disease. At least that's what we thought.
Right.
I thought at the time. But I thought, you know what? What the heck? I've done so many low-fat diets and found weight loss success, but not long-term success in my weight and health. So why don't I give this Atkins diet a try? And when I say Atkins diet, not meat, eggs, and cheese, like some people think is the Atkins diet. I did it actually by the book, which includes vegetables.
That's right, yeah.
So I did that in January 2004. So what's that, about 13 years ago almost. So I started on this, and the first month I lost 30 pounds off my 410-pound body. So I was a very svelte 380 pounds. And by month 2, I was so energetic doing this that I had to go to the gym and started working out. And, when you're 380 pounds, working out is walking on the treadmill for 10 to 15 minutes at 3 miles an hour and huffing and puffing when you're done. So,
but just something, it's moving. Yeah.
I tell people I was weightlifting because if you think about it, my legs were lifting a lot of weight at that time.
That's right.
So I lost another 40 pounds in that second month. And by the end of 100 days, 100 pounds gone. And it was at that point I went, there's something to this Atkins diet.
There's something. Yes.
And by the end of that year, I was able to lose a total of 180 pounds. It got the attention of the Atkins nutritionals people, the Atkins company, and hey, can we feature your story on the front of our website? So they did. I started getting all these people writing to me all over the world. How'd you do it? How'd you do it? How'd you do it? And I said, will you people leave me alone? So in 2004 or 5, April 2005, I started Livin, Vida, low carb blog.
Right.
Just started just sharing, and it quickly started growing. And a year later, this guy said, hey, if you talk half as good as you write, you should be a podcaster. And I was like, 2006, what is a podcast? So there were really not a lot in the health space at that time, as you know.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, okay, let's try this. I don't have any experience so let's give it a go. I'd never interviewed people before. I did a little bit of Christian radio back in the 1990s. That was Amy Grant. Now here's Michael W. Smith. That's it. That's all I did.
Yeah.
And so we started the Livin' La Vida Low Carb show in October of 2005. And now it is the longest running health podcast on the internet with 1,200 episodes. It's so funny because iTunes only shows the last 300.
Right.
So like 3/4 of my shows are not on iTunes. You can still get them at our website. But
right. Yeah.
Funny. And I've just gone from there. And what's that?
You have to go in the archives to go back to the beginning. Yeah.
Exactly. And since then, I've actually created 3 other podcasts. Keto Talk with Jimmy Moore and the Doc, which talks about ketogenic diets with me and this physician who uses it, and Low Carb Conversations, which talks about health headlines, and then a retired podcast called Ask the Low Carb Experts. I had a momentary lapse. I was like, what was that one called? And I'm thinking about starting another one on a topic that I've written a book about recently. So stay tuned for that.
Oh gosh. You mentioned that you're not eating. Are you fasting right now? That you mentioned?
I am fasting. Yeah. So I'm in I'm at the end of day 15. So I'm into day 16 now of a fast. And that includes one meal So we can talk about fasting here in a second, but
yes, absolutely.
one meal where I listened to my body was saying, hey, eat a little something. So I had one meal and got right back on the fast again.
Okay.
That's it in 16 days.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about fasting. So did you have, your background, you got into, you wrote books, you've written a lot of books now.
Yeah.
I have
6.
I have 6. Yeah, that's what I got down. 6. And internationally best-selling books now. What, did you have a background in writing, or is it the blog gave you that background?
It's interesting. I actually was a double major in college. The half the major that I am not using right now is political science. So I did political science and went on to get a master's degree in public policy, which I do nothing with, although I am trying to change nutritional public policy here in America and around the world. But the other half, my undergrad degree, major in English as well. So I have been a writer. In fact, there was one class, nobody's ever asked this question. That's a good question, dude. And I've done a lot of interviews. I've never been asked it. So I actually used to have a teacher in college who, if you didn't like the grade that you got on your paper that you wrote, he would let you rewrite. So I started writing because I wanted an A every single time. And so if I got anything less than an A, I was rewriting that bad boy. So I got good at proofing and rereading. And I guess that made me a pretty good writer of books now.
Well, that's funny, because I read Stephen King's book on writing, and basically if I take away one advice, 2 pieces of advice from him was on writing was write a lot, and then rewrite. And that's the art of writing. That's what.
Can I tell you, keto clarity? I wrote, read, reread, rewrote over 200 times.
Oh my gosh.
That's, I hope, why it's a pretty good book.
That's amazing. Now that book is, the first one was Livin, Vida, low carb.
That was about my weight loss. Yep.
And the 21 life lessons from living that lifestyle, right? Living La Vida, low carb.
Those are my 2 independent, self-published books. Yep. So
and then it got into, now you got some traction is then you have cholesterol clarity.
Yeah, that was my first with a major label. Yep.
Right. And that now moving into the ketogenic world and fasting, which are in the same realm, the keto clarity, the ketogenic cookbook, and then the complete guide to fasting.
Yep.
You're pumping out a lot of material.
And I've got 3 more coming in 2017.
No way. Wow.
I have the bug, dude.
You do. Because you started 2005, you wrote your first one. It was like another 4 years. You got your next one. But now it's just like, you're just pumping them out.
Keep in mind, in those early days, I was still learning quite a bit.
Yeah.
And my podcast didn't come around till 2006. So when I did Livin La Vida Low Carb in 2005, that was just kind of putting my foot out in the water and saying, okay, let's see what this is all about. And then I started interviewing all these people and gathering information and educating myself. I now feel like I have about 10 honorary PhDs with as many people as I've talked to. Yeah. But that's the progression, and that's why it took so long. And now that I have a major publisher that's really giving me a platform with distribution into stores and that kind of thing, why not use it? Why not get the word out? I'm just like bursting here in my head to get books out.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and that process of book writing, I several years ago, this whole Too Busy to Eat world kicked off for me writing a book, not as successful as what you've done, but
it will be.
Yeah, you just keep it going. But
keep at it.
But I'm telling you what, the process of writing, I feel like the amount of research you do and the connections and the podcast, all the things that go along with that. You are really, from all you've done, you are one of the most educated people on the subject. It's just, you can take PhDs, MDs, or whatever they're doing, but the amount of time you spend focused on that topic, nobody else can get there. It's amazing. That's great. It's great. Yeah.
Thank you. I would say I think where I shine is giving and amplifying basically the voices of those people that are doing good work.
Right.
I obviously have my own thoughts and opinions and ideas about things, but most of what I do is basically sharing what's out there,
Right.
but not being heard. And so I have a megaphone, and I have people that listen.
Yeah.
I added it up recently, like all my social media, all my podcasts, everybody. It's about 1 million people a week. So
Right.
that's a huge responsibility to give them really good information.
Right. And that's great. And you're doing it right by you have your level of expertise, but you're also bringing in the other people around you. Like we talked about Dr. Dom D'Agostino, who's awesome in the ketogenic world and just a great guy. But I know
he's a cool guy.
Yeah.
He's a newly married guy.
Oh, he is. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting. So you have all this going on. You've changed your life drastically. I mean,
big time.
Somebody listening that wants to, maybe they're in the same situation you were, but what were the key principles that you pulled out as you made your change? And then we can get to the point where you are now, what you're doing as we speak. Yeah.
There are so many ways I could go with this answer. But I would say the biggest thing that I've learned is we've been lied to.
Right.
And we have bought into the lie, hook, line, and sinker about what it takes to be healthy. And I think a lot of us, myself included, my whole family included, probably everybody listening's family included, we have abdicated our role in our own health. We've given that mantle of responsibility for our health to the man in the white coat, the woman in the white coat, other people to tell us, do this to be healthy. Take this pill to get healthy. Eat this way from the dietitians to get healthy. And I think not enough of us take responsibility for our own health and see those people, the doctors, the dietitians, the PAs, and all these people, the nurses that are giving us advice about our health, seeing them merely as consultants in our health.
Yes.
We really are the boss. A business doesn't hire consultants to come in and give them advice on what to do and then say, this is what you're going to do.
Right.
No,
right.
The business would fire them very quickly if they tried to impose and say, you must do this. Right. So you've got to be that final arbiter in your own health. And that's a huge, huge lesson I've learned doing this for so long is I don't do that anymore. My doctor knows when I go in, I'm very respectful because I appreciate his wisdom. And if I break this arm, I want him to put it back together again. And he will very well. But at the same time, he's not educated about nutrition. He's not educated on some of the metabolic pathways of insulin resistance, which is what I deal with. And so I have to educate him and say, hey, these are the tests I want run. I want an A1C. I want a fasting insulin. In fact, I had to do that recently when I did my physical. He did not run a fasting insulin level. I'm like, how do you miss a fasting insulin level with someone that has insulin resistance?
Right.
No sense at all. So I paid out of pocket to have it run.
Oh, gosh.
And see, those are the kind of things you just have to, play their games, but at the same time, you're still the boss. So that's a big, big lesson that I've learned. And then knowing that each of us have individual needs that a low-fat diet may or may not fit into. I found for me, it may not. Right. And that I had to do things probably that go against everything I ever thought was true about health. Right. When I started cutting carbs, people are like, you're going to starve your brain. And I'm like, I'm in day 15 of a fast where I've had one meal in the last 15 days. Does my brain look and sound like I'm not
sharp as you can get? Yeah. That's
so. It's amazing the things that we believe just based on our cultural axioms and just based on what we've heard and not based on really any kind of science or anything that proves anything.
Yeah. Which is sad. And it's leading an entire country down the wrong path.
That's why you and I are so passionate about doing these podcasts, man. You got to get the word out.
Got to get the word out because people are literally, they're shortening their life, they're ruining their life, the quality of life, all of that is going down because of misinformation. Yeah,
that's right.
So I'm fascinated. Fasting has been my newest venture. I've fasted for years, off and on, different ways, tried different things. What have you? You've written. You have a book on it. You have the complete guide to fasting, which is right there. I love it. That looks good. I have not read that. You have so many books. I was trying to see where I start.
You're still trying to get caught up on all of them.
Yeah. It might take me a little bit, but I'm fascinated with fasting. So tell me a little bit what you learned in the process of doing it yourself, and obviously writing a book on it.
Did you say you're fascinated?
Fast, yeah.
But sorry,
I did not, but I could have. That would have been a good setup.
So my foray into fasting actually began in 2006. It was right when I was starting podcasting. It had been a couple of years since I had lost the weight, and I heard a very famous low carb physician named Dr. Michael Eade start talking about this thing called IF. And I was like, what the heck is IF? He said, no, it's intermittent fasting. And I said, okay, you just said the F word.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in the word, because when I heard fasting, I heard starvation.
Right.
And that was my first kind of inkling of what fasting was. Well, you're starving yourself. And why would you do that? And so I actually brushed it aside for a few years. And it wasn't until 2009 came around, I interviewed this gentleman on my podcast named Dr. Thomas Seyfried, who's a very famous ketogenic diet researcher with cancer. And at the end of my talk with him, he said, if you want to prevent cancer for 1 week a year, just don't eat for 7 days, fast for 7 days. And it just kind of floored me, because I was going, whoa. This isn't about weight loss. This isn't about anything esoteric. This is cancer prevention. And I was like, why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't everybody do that? And so, but I couldn't wrap my head around intermittent fasting yet. So a couple of years later, I finally tried intermittent fasting, thanks to Rob Wolf and Mark Sisson and different ones that kind of pushed me in that direction. And so I tried it. I hated it. I thought it was so stupid. I was hungry, but I made mistakes. I was still drinking diet sodas doing it. I was still doing a lot of mistakes. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, right.
And so, and I write about this in The Complete Guide to Fasting, the whole story of how I progressed up to the point till last year when I met this gentleman in a conference in Cape Town, South Africa. I was invited to speak with Tim Noakes and his whole group there in South Africa. Yeah. And I shared the stage with this gentleman I'd never heard before, his name, Dr. Jason Fung. And so I hear Dr. Fung talk about fasting and how he's put a lot of patients on various kinds of fasts, from intermittent fasting to very long fasts.
Right.
And I thought, okay, I'm very interested in this. I had done a 7-day fast, which again, I won't spoil the ending, but it crashed and burned on day 7. You'll see why in the book. But but I was talking to him and I said, hey, I really want to try some of these fasts you're talking about to help deal with my insulin resistance. Is there a book or is there some kind of resource you can recommend? He said, there's not one.
Wow.
And so I said, dude, I have a publisher who will write anything I want to write. Yeah. You want to collaborate on a book? And so he's like, sure.
Do it. Yeah.
So I said, if I'm going to write a book with you, I want to do these longer fasts. So, kind of monitor me with some of these long fasts. Sure. My first one I wanted to try was 21 days last September. Wow. So I thought, okay, let's try 21 days. The longest I'd ever gone was, almost 7. So, so I tried this in September. What's that?
Which is long. I mean, 7 days is long.
Yeah. 7 days. And what's funny now, I think of a 7-day fast now as a shorter fast.
Yeah.
Oh, how times change. So 21 days was my goal. And I ended up making it 17 and a half days. Okay. And I was just falling short of 21 because my saboteur was stress.
Oh,
so I got stressed, and the stress raises cortisol, raises blood sugar, raises insulin, makes you hungry. And my stomach growled for 45 minutes in a row. And I said, Jimmy, it's time to end the fast. So, so that was kind of my foray into it. I've done a series of fasts since then. All of them are detailed in The Complete Guide to Fasting, except for this current one, which happened after the book came out. And like I said, I'm in day 16 of a fast where I've only stopped one meal at the end of day 12. My body was telling me, have a meal. I ate that meal, got right back on the fast, and been doing really good.
Wow. So if somebody was going to start, they would get your book. I mean, that would be a start. Yeah.
That helps, but a natural progression of how to start. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
So let's imagine, I don't know what your audience is like as far as nutrition, but if you're not already eating a nutrient healthy diet, do that first.
Okay.
I would even dare say, if you're interested in maybe looking the ketogenic diet,
Yes.
I have a book about it called Keto Clarity. Definitely, check into that and do that first. And the reason this is so important, it's not necessary to fast, but it sure does make the fast easier, because when you're already using fat for fuel very efficiently, which is what a ketogenic diet does, you shift over from sugar burner to fat burner. When you start burning your stored body fat during a fast for energy, your body already knows exactly what to do. So going ketogenic is a great first step. Then, kind of once you dial in that nutrient dense diet, that ketogenic diet, then cut out your snacks. We all used to snack. We did. So breakfast snack, lunch snack, dinner snack, midnight snack. We've just snacked our whole lives.
Right.
Cut out all those snacks. And if it means you need to eat a little more in your meals to prevent that snacking, do that. That's okay.
Right.
Then at some point decide, you know what, I'm going to ditch one of the meals. So if it's your breakfast meal, if it's your lunch meal, whatever you feel is comfortable, because you want to try to start to train your body to learn what going periods of time without eating feels like. And again, if you get hungry in those in-between times, you didn't eat enough food in that previous meal. So eat more food, and more specifically, more fat, and you'll be sated.
Right.
Then from there, try to eat within a 4 to 8 hour window. And that's a good intermittent fast, upwards of 20 hours. And then from there, you can eat every other day. So you eat Monday, you don't eat Tuesday, you eat Wednesday, you don't eat Thursday. And what that ends up being is about a 36-hour fast from the time you stop eating the night before to the time you eat again the day after next. So that's kind of a cool thing. And then you're probably at that point getting most of the benefits. Most people get most of the benefits from doing that. But if you're like me and maybe you've dealt with morbid obesity, maybe you deal with resistance and you already know, hey, I'm not seeing results doing this, that's when you start to push it these longer. And I would say, if you're going to push it longer, don't just go 2 days, because day 2 sucks.
Yes, it does. Yes. Yeah.
So if you get through day 2, you want to get a little bit of the nirvana. So I would say, try to push it to 3, even 5 days if you're going to do a longer fast for the first time.
Right.
And guys, guess what? If you crash and burn that first time, it's okay. It's okay. Because the next time you try it, it's going to be that much easier, because you have the experience of having done it, and you kind of know what to expect and where you are in the fast. And then the next time, maybe try 7, 14, or even as crazy as Jimmy Moore is doing, 21-day fast.
Wow. That's awesome. But yeah, I do. I mean, I would echo that one piece for me as just a amateur in the fasting game, is that after that third day, I started feeling really good. That's it. You get past those first couple of days, and then
day 2 is the booger.
It's bad. Yeah.
Which is why you can do like bone broth with sea salt and really anything to just get yourself through it. I think people imagine going on a fast is just this progressively worse and worse and worse feeling of hunger. And it just doesn't happen, does it?
No. You mentioned the nirvana effect. At times you are on a high, you feel so good, and it's great. Yeah. It's really good. And you can't imagine it, giving up food, you're going to feel that good.
It's so counterintuitive. I think a lot of people, there's so many myths out there, and we definitely address a lot of them in the book, but so many people just think they're just going to be miserable. Right. In fact, I do a daily Periscope of my update during this fast, and people are like, how are you still lucid? How are you still standing up? How do you have energy? Aren't you just laying on the couch all day? And I'm like, no, I actually probably arguably more energy doing this than I ate, like calories is reduced from my norm and having sustenance, but that actually makes me feel worse than eating 0.
Right.
Isn't that weird?
I know. It's amazing. Well, like you said, your body is flipped, and it's using that, burning that fat.
Using the stored body fat. Yep.
Yeah. Which is a steady stream of energy. You don't have the ups and downs. It's great. It's a great
And here's a statistic for you. And we wrote about this in Keto Clarity, but it's apropos to fasting. When you are a sugar burner, which is most of the population, you have about 2,000 calories worth of sugar to burn on your body before it's used up and you have to refeed. That's why all these dietitians say eat every few hours.
Yeah.
But when you are a fat burner, vis-a-vis a ketogenic diet or in fasting, you tap into fat stores. Guess how many calories worth of energy is at your disposal of a lean person when you're fat adapted? It's 40 50,000 calories. And if you have quite a bit of adipose tissue, it's probably well over 100, maybe 150,000 calories, which is why you can go days upon days upon days upon days without eating and be just fine.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now, there's so much information. You've even shown that through all the books you've written. If you're talking to that person that wants to get started, is there one key thing like you could share to the busy person that wants to change their life, but like one piece of information for them to take away and make a step towards health?
Stop eating crap. That would be so good. And crap being defined as anything processed, anything refined, anything sugary, starchy, carby at all, except for vegetables. I think we've just been we become lazy, I guess is the word. And I'm just as guilty of this. I used to drink 16 cans of Coca-Cola a day. I used to eat whole boxes of Little Debbie snack cakes a day. I'd go to McDonald's at least once or twice a day and just stuff my mouth mindlessly, thinking what I was putting in my mouth was food. None of that was food. It was what I like to now call food-like disease agents, because those things made me diseased. They made me so in 2016, 12 years after changing my life, I still have to be on my A game in my nutritional health program just to be as healthy as I can be at this point in my life. But for that change I made, I would be dead today. I truly believe I would have followed my brother to the grave.
Right.
And so you're talking to a man who's on extended time thanks to this nutrition.
Awesome.
And I think if people just followed that lead of just get rid of the crap in your life, you know what the crap is. You don't need me to explain it. It's not carrots that made you fat. It's not even sweet potatoes that messed you up. It was crappy garbage, as I like to call it. So get rid of that stuff and turn to real food. I think of people food as a start. Man, oh man, how much better would our health be overall?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great suggestion and a great place to start. And people that do that will see major benefits just right by changing their life. Changing their diet to whole foods. And getting rid of.
And it's not healthy whole grains. There's no such thing as a healthy whole grain.
Yeah. Not if it's processed and done that. Yeah. So I love it. Now I know that people want to get in touch with you. So there's two ways. Livin, La Vida, lowcarb.com. You can find all Jimmy's stuff. And he has been online for so long. You can just Google Jimmy Moore and he'll dominate that Google search.
The first two pages.
His books, all his podcasts. So I encourage you to check out all the Jimmy stuff. Jimmy, I can't thank you enough. This was, I learned a ton. I'm excited. I'm gonna jump on that fasting book right away and do some more experimentation. I love it. I appreciate all your energy and your experiences. I love your story, and I thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
It's great. Thank you so much. Have a great day.